Bryce Young is saying all the right things because he's in a position where he has to. You went to a fucking dumpster fire. It's the reason they were the team to pick and had the first pick in the goddamn draft. Your family gonna tell you the truth. Your friends are gonna tell you the truth. I'm telling you the truth. It ain't you. There ain't nothing wrong with you. Frank Reich got fired in week 11. 11 games. He understands David Tepper has a very short fuse and has little to no patience at all, and not understanding that it takes time. It takes time. You're not finna buy your way into having a successful team.
2 days later.
Okay, Dave Canales, I'm a believer in you as a head coach now. Wow, just wow. This is Sports Guy talking that you guys are watching and listening to. I am Dustin Tran, your host, as I am here today to talk about Bryce Young getting exposed as a draft bust by Andy Dalton. For the first time in forever, the Panthers were able to beat the Raiders in comfortable fashion as Andy Dalton was an absolute baller. In fact, Andy Dalton played so well to the point that it destroyed every false narrative created by the Bryce Young fanboys. Before I say anything else though, I want to present you guys with the topic question. So, here it is. Did Andy Dalton's performance for the Panthers prove that Bryce Young is a draft bust? Absolutely. This is another piece of evidence that shows Bryce Young does not belong in the National Football League as a quarterback. Bryce Young should be an employee at Walmart. Go work at a retail store. Go bag burgers at McDonald's. Do anything but be a quarterback in the professional leagues. We got to see Andy Dalton play yesterday, and what happened? He balled out for the Carolina Panthers, the same franchise where people like Chad Johnson, Shannon Sharp, Colin Cowherd, and others were talking about how, oh, the Panthers are set up for failure. Oh, no quarterback is ever going to be good on the Carolina Panthers. Oh, they got no weapons whatsoever. Well, the weapons were there yesterday. How come Andy Dalton balled out with the Carolina Panthers, but Bryce Young can't? Huh? Make it make sense. Bryce Young is short, small, and slow. If you are defined by those three traits, you are not succeeding in the NFL as a quarterback. I don't care who you are. In fact, Bryce Young struggles to throw an NFL-sized football more than 40 yards. I know his fanboys are going to point to his Alabama tape, but people have to remember that the size of a college football is different from the size of an NFL ball. Obviously, Bryce Young's hands are too small, but of course we don't know that because he didn't test at the combine. That's what happens when you have a fraud playing quarterback, and you got all these people lying through their teeth when they're talking about Bryce Young. Bryce Young has created no help for these receivers. In fact, let me throw out some stats to prove how Bryce Young is a horrible player on the Carolina Panthers. You look at how Bryce Young has only thrown for over 300 yards once with the supporting cast, even though he has started in 18 games. Andy Dalton, on the other hand, has thrown for two 300-plus yard games with the same supporting cast. And you mean to tell me this supporting cast set Bryce Young back? No, how about Bryce Young set the supporting cast back? All these people were blaming Frank Reich and talking about how Frank Reich, oh my God, he's holding Bryce Young back. Bryce Young can't do anything effective. Then explain this. How come Bryce Young, since Frank Reich got fired, has only thrown for 2 touchdowns in 8-game stretch, while Andy Dalton in one half threw 3 passing touchdowns with the same weapons, with the same supporting cast? Make it make sense. Bryce Young was getting worse as more time went on. He wasn't getting better. He was getting worse. He was playing like a Make-A-Wish kid. That's how bad Bryce Young was playing on the football field. When you look at what the Carolina Panthers have built around Bryce Young, their general manager, Dan Morgan, has actually done a pretty good job considering the circumstances. You look at how we beat up the offensive line. You look at how Diontae Johnson, Adam Thielen, and Xavier Legette were solid weapons for the Carolina Panthers. Even Tommy Tremble made some plays in the receiving game as a tight end. And then, of course, you had Chuba Hubbard and Miles Sanders running the football effectively. That tells me the Carolina Panthers have a good enough offense for Bryce Young to look like an NFL caliber quarterback. Andy Dalton is not some world beater. Andy Dalton in his prime was a fringe Pro Bowl quarterback. He was basically Derek Carr. But when you look at what Andy Dalton was doing for the Panthers, the dude was looking like an absolute MVP candidate. He was balling out for the Carolina Panthers, and that tells me the Carolina Panthers have a really good supporting cast. They also have a really good head coach in Dave Canales as well. All these people were talking about how Bryce Young, he was set up for failure with Dave Canales as his head coach because he didn't have enough experience. But what happened to the last guy that had plenty of experience? You ran that guy out of town. You talked about how Frank Reich wasn't good enough for Bryce Young and that he needed a coach that could understand the modern game. Well, they got that for him, and what happened? He still sucked on the football field. It's pretty clear that Bryce Young is a draft bust. There is beyond a reasonable doubt that Bryce Young is not meant to play NFL football, at least as a starting quarterback. I also want to show you guys this clip of Jordan Schultz making an absolute fool of himself. He's an NFL insider. It's going to be audio only because I'm going to get copyrighted by Fox Sports if I show you guys the actual visuals, so you guys will only get to see the picture of Jordan Schultz talking about Bryce Young. He made an absolute fool of himself. Roll the film.
First of all, 2 games, 18 total for his career is not a big enough sample size. I don't care who you are. Now, I've asked around a few different personnel people, coaches, what would happen if you put your quarterback in that system? You know what they say? He would struggle because no quarterback is set up to win there. What they mortgaged in that deal with Chicago to get the number 1 pick was a dearth now of talent at wide receiver, at tight end, at offensive line, these marquee positions for any young quarterback to succeed. Now, it wouldn't surprise me at all, Colin, based on what I've been told over the last few days, if Bryce Young were to say, I want out, and I think he should want out. I would make the argument that no quarterback in the league would have success there, including a Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes. That's how bad it is. And if you think about the history of quarterbacks within the Carolina Panthers franchise under this ownership group, Matt Corral did not do very well. Sam Darnold, Teddy Bridgewater, Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
These guys don't have success. And it's at some point you have to say.
And now they're all having success elsewhere.
Everywhere. Absolutely. Your guy, Sam Darnold, has looked awesome in Minnesota so far. Look at Baker Mayfield, just got paid. The bottom line, if you're David Tepper and you're the Panthers, you have to sit back, Colin, in my opinion, and say, look, we are the problem. Because Bryce Young was the number 1 pick for a reason. He probably would have gone 1 or 2, even if Houston had the, whatever. This is a team that is not built to win now. It's a roster that has just holes everywhere. And I think they have put him in a really tough position. And if I'm Bryce Young, I'm looking out and I'm saying, I can't succeed here.
You know what they say? Fool me once, strike 1. But fool me twice, strike 3.
What a fool Jordan Schultz looks right now with his take on the Carolina Panthers. You heard the idiocy in his talk about Bryce Young. Look, if you wanted to get fooled by Bryce Young's historically awful rookie season, fine. That would at least be understandable. I wouldn't agree with it, but I could at least understand it. What about the fact that Bryce Young got worse this year compared to last year? What's your excuse now? I guarantee you that fool was paid under the table by the Bryce Young family to say those things, because there ain't no way he watched those games and truly believed that Bryce Young was not the problem on the Carolina Panthers. You got dudes like Chad Johnson and Jordan Schultz just lying through their teeth about Bryce Young like he is some superstar that's getting held back on a bad team, but you ain't ever hear people say that about Sam Howell on the Washington Commanders. You look at Bryce Young on the Carolina Panthers, he had Frank Reich, who has managed to get career years out of Andrew Luck, Jacoby Brissett, Phillip Rivers, and Carson Wentz, but he's not good enough for Bryce Young. Bryce Young was not good enough for Dave Canales as well. Dave Canales realized that he was on the verge of getting blamed and scapegoated for the shortcomings of Bryce Young, so that's why he went ahead and made the switch. I gotta give Dave Canales a lot of credit for that. And obviously Andy Dalton playing good football proves that Bryce Young simply does not belong in the NFL whatsoever. That was an absolute embarrassment in the case of Bryce Young. These Bryce Young fanboys that keep telling me, oh, the Panthers, they can't function without Bryce Young. Well, how about Andy Dalton becomes the first quarterback in the NFL this year to throw for 300 plus passing yards and 3 passing touchdowns in the same game this season, despite the fact that quarterbacks were getting paid more money than ever to produce less work than ever. Make it make sense, Bryce Young fanboys. I'm glad Andy Dalton went out there and balled up for the Carolina Panthers, because it proved that Bryce Young simply does not belong in the National Football League. The sooner people realize that, the better off that they will be. That's the truth. So that is why Andy Dalton's performance for the Panthers clearly proves beyond a doubt that Bryce Young is a draft bust. In fact, there is no other correct answer to this question. It is unequivocally obvious that Bryce Young is and will be a draft bust for the Panthers. Remember, go ahead and subscribe to Sports Guy Talking, like the video, and please comment down below. If you guys do that, I may shout you guys out in my Instagram story every Monday. That'll be for the @DustinNashTran Instagram account. Make sure to follow me on Instagram @DustinNashTran, and that's Sports Guy Talking. Also, go follow me on Twitter at DustinNashTran. Again, go ahead and do those things that I just told you guys to go do. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the content that was just produced. Peace out. I hope you enjoyed that video. Want more Sports Guy Talking, the home of great sports content? Make sure you click that subscribe button to get the latest from Sports Guy Talking. Go ahead and like the video, comment down below, check the description box on the video in order to follow my Instagram and Twitter. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from the YouTube channel Sports Guy Talking.